सर्वेभ्यो नमस्काराः। अद्य सिद्धान्तकौमुद्याः विसर्गसन्धिप्रकरणम् आरभ्यते। येनाक्षरसमां नायमधिगम्य महेश्वरात् कृत्स्नं व्याकरणं प्रोक्तं तस्मै पाणिनये नमः। वाक्यकारं वररुचिं भाष्यकारं पतञ्जलिं पाणिनिं सूत्रकारं च प्रणतोऽस्मि मुनित्रयम्। मुनित्रयं नमस्कृत्य तदुक्तिः परिभाव्य च वैयाकरणसिद्धान्तकौमुदीयं विरच्यते। पञ्चसन्धिप्रकरणम् इति सन्धिप्रकरणं सर्वम् आहत्य उच्यते। तत्र आदौ अच्सन्धिः, ततः अच्सन्धौ प्रकृतिभावः, हल् सन्धिः, विसर्गसन्धिः, स्वाधिसन्धिः इति पञ्चसन्धयः. There's actually a huge confusion in what exactly is Visarga Sandhi, because you see the Visarga takes a number of forms. Unlike other things where you have, wherever you have a Visarga, it manages to convert itself into a variety of forms, and it's Visarga Sandhi is actually a misnomer. What we study in, say, school or college, if you have studied Sanskrit at the high school level, there is something called Visarga Sandhi. Visarga Sandhi ityatra Visargasya rephaadeshah, Visargasya utvam, Visargasya lopaha ityadi ritya sandhayah pathyante. It is a general way of studying. The Visarga Sandhis are categorized into, I think, 6. They say Visarga rephaadeshah, Visarga sakaradeshah, Visarga lopaha, Visargasya utvam gunaha purvarupaha, jishvamuliyah upadhmaniyah ityadi ritya vibhajyate. But actually you find that there are many cases where there is no Visarga at all. As in, if we are talking of a Visargasya rephaadeshah, which is actually a completely wrong concept because there is no Visarga there involved. Right? And there are some cases where the Visarga is involved and is converted into something else. That is why you have, it seems at the first instance there arises a confusion between Visarga Sandhi and Swadhi Sandhi. Visarga Sandhi nama yatra Visargasya vikarah drishyate tatraiva Visarga Sandhi. Atsandhi ityukte yatra swarasya vikarah सह स्वरसन्धिः अथवा अच्सन्धिः, यत्र हलः विकारः तत्र हल् सन्धिः, यत्र विसर्गस्य विकारः तत्र विसर्गसन्धिः. It is the correct term. Where we have visarga and the visarga is converted into something else, that is the proper Visarga Sandhi, and that is what has been dealt in the Kaumudi under the name Visarga Sandhi. But what we commonly think of as Visarga Sandhi, we do not see here. It comes in the next Prakaranam, which is Swadhi Sandhi, because the visarga is not actually involved there. Right. So before, and therefore it's very important to have a after we do Visarga Sandhi and Swadhi Sandhi, likelihood is that you'll end up being completely confused, because first thing, there is a number of karyas which happen, and there are a number of different sutras which mandate these karyas, and there are many different possible scenarios which are possible which involve the Visarga. So before we start with the Visarga Sandhi, maybe we should look at a few rupas and see what are the forms that Visarga takes. As in, we'll see the prayoga and then go to the sutra and see how we end up with those prayogas. Right? So in each of these cases, I'll give, there is a question which involves the vigraha involves a Visarga. I'd like you to tell what is the final rupa. Right? For example, if we start with Ramaha api, what is the form? Prayoge kim rupam? Ramaha api ityatra kas sandhihi. Anybody? Let's please go through these quickly. I'm sure you all know these. Ramaha api.
Ramopi.
Ramopi. Wait. Kas sandhihi.
Engi pararup, enga padantadari.
Actually, yeah. So final thing is enga padantadati, which is a
Visarga Visarjaniyasya saha.
No, there is no saha here. I think, you would not know the sutra. Let's not go into the sutras now, because I'm just looking at prayoga. So Ramaha plus api is Ramopi. What is Ramaha plus api? Kim rupam? Rupe jnate eva shastram jnatum shakyate. Right. Hiralalji.
Rama api.
Rama api. Visargasya lopaha
Lopa.
ityuchyate samanyatah. Ramah api, Ramo api, Ramaah api ityatra tu Rama api. Harihi api. Anybody else? Harihi api. Kim rupam? Hari api? No. Harirapi. Priya answer. So harihi api ityatra harirapi iti rupam. Visargasya sthane nasti. Yatra visarga asit tatra repah drishyate. Here you had a lopa. You cannot see the visarga here anymore. Here you have an okara. Here you have a repha. Guruhu iha. Guruhu iha. Kim bhavati? Right. Later says Gururiha. Guruhu iha ityatra Gururiha ityatra bhavati. Yatha harirapi tatha Gururiha ityatrapi repah shruyate. Visargasya sthane repah. Krishnaha gacchati. No, this is not Krishnar gacchati. Anybody? Right. Krishno gacchati. Krishnaha gacchati ityatra okaraha Krishno gacchati iti rupam. Balaha gacchanti. Balaha gacchanti. Correct. Here also we have a lopa. So this thing would be bala gacchanti. Balaha gacchanti ityatra bala gacchanti. Kavihi gacchati. Hiralalji.
Kavir gacchati.
Kavir gacchati. Kavihi gacchati ityatrapi repah kavir gacchati. Okay, so if you see in this set, you have few cases where you have a repha. There are few cases where there is a lopa. There is a case where you have an okara, and there is a case where you have an okara and purvarupa. Right. So in this set, you have 4 different things which the Visarga has taken. But this is not all. Ramaha karoti. Ityatra kim rupam?
Ramah karoti. Ramah karoti.
Ramah karoti. Right. Is that the only form?
It can be Rama karoti because of Hali Sarvesham. Maybe.
Hali Sarvesham will not apply here.
Okay.
No, Ramas karoti is wrong.
No. Rama karoti. Visarga lopaha.
No lopa. Yeah, there's one form with the Jihva Muliya which is correct. Ramah karoti with the Jihva Muliya. What would be the other form? That's my question. There is no Prakriti Bhava here. Sorry. I mean, the other form is very easy actually. The Visarga remains as it is. You can either have Ramah karoti, the Jihva Muliya, or Ramah karoti. Iti Visarga eva. विकल्प विकल्पेन जिह्वामूलीयः भवति. हरिः पातु. हीरालाल जी. हेलो हीरालाल जी. No microphone. Okay. Harihi Patu. What would be the form? So there's one Upadmaniya as Harih Patu, or again there's a Visarga as Harihi Patu. So you would have two forms with Harih Patu and Harihi Patu. Yashaha Kamaha. What will happen here? Vasuji?
नमस्ते यशस्कामः
Yashaskamaha. Satyam. So even if we have a kakara, there are forms where we hear the sakara. It becomes Yashaskamaha. Shreyaskamaha, Yashaskamaha, ityadini udaharanani. There are shlokas. Shreyaskamo na grinhiyat. Jeshtaputragalatrayo. There are many places where you have Yashaskamaha, Shreyaskamaha, etc. So obviously there is an apavada for this. Namaha karoti. Kim syat. Okay, so everybody seems to know Namaskaroti is one form. Is it the only form? It is the most popular form, correct? But actually Namaskaroti, Namah Karoti, Namah Karoti. Iti trinyapi rupani sadhuni. So there are all forms which are possible here. Okay, so Duhu Karyam. Vasuji?
दुष्कार्यम्
Dushkaryam, where you have the Murdhanya Shakara. Dushkaryam, Duhukaryam, Jihvamuliya Prapte, Dushkaryam, iti Shatvam Shruyate. Guruhu Kshanena.
गुरुः क्षणेन stays as गुरुः क्षणेन
Right. Guruhu Kshanena ityatra Guruhu Kshanena ityeva rupam. Tatra Jihvamuliyopi na bhavati. There is no Jihvamuliyo also. The Visarga is heard as it is. Right. So if you look at this set, this is mostly where you have Kakara and Pakara, where by default you have to get Jihvamuliya or Upadmaniya. But you also see that there are cases where you have Sakara, you have an optional Sakara, you have a Shakara, you have a Visarga itself. So again, this is a completely different set. Balaha Saha. Okay. Visuji?
It's again Balaha Saha.
Only Balaha Saha with the Visarga?
With the Visarga as it is. Balaha Saha.
Okay. Any other forms? Hiralalji? I can't hear you. I think there must be something wrong with the microphone. Okay. Any other forms? There are two forms here. One is with the Sakara Desha as Balas Saha. Aparam tu Visarga eva bhavati Balaha Saha. Harihi Shete. Okay, there is one Harishete with Talavya Shakara. Any other forms or only one form?
Yes, that also should have Arihi Shete as the
Right.
second.
Correct. So there are two forms. Atrapi rupa dvayam bhavati. Harishyete, harihi shete. Balaha tatra. Balaha tatra. Okay. Balas tatra. Only one form. How many forms in Balaha tatra? Only one, or can we have any other forms? No, actually here it is only Balas tatra. If there is Samhita, the Sakara is compulsory. So Balas tatra ityekam eva rupam. Ramaha chinoti.
There it is Ramaschinoti.
Right. Ramash chinoti iti atrapi ekameva rupam. Ramash chinoti. Okay, so you have a compulsory sakara, an optional sakara. You have a compulsory shakara, you have an optional shakara. Okay, and we are not yet over. Saha eshaha. Kim rupam. Saha eshaha. Hiralalji.
लोप
Huh?
विसर्गस्य लोप स एषः
Right. Visargalope sa eshaha. Eshaha Vishnuhu. Eshaha Vishnuhu.
same as above.
Right. So again you have Esha Vishnuhu. But Saha Eshaha also happens to be Saishaha. Saisha Dasharathi Ramaha. Where you have the same Saha and Eshaha, but you have Saishaha. Right? Is this form correct, by the way? Have you seen forms like this? So there is a special case where this is also correct. The normal case is Saeshaha, which is true, but there are special cases where this is also correct. So you can also see three Visarga Sandhis here. You have Saha, Eshaha becomes Saishaha. Saishaha Dasharathihi has become Saisha Dasharathihi. And Dasharathihi Ramaha has given Dasharathi Ramaha. Right? Saisha Dasharathi Ramaha. Dasharathihi Ramaha. Visargaha nasti. Purvatra dirghopi shruyate. Punaha Ramate. What would be Punaha Ramate? Hema? Hello? Hema? Can't hear. Vasu?
Yes. Punar Ramate.
What is the final form? Is it Punar Ramate?
I think so.
No, actually.
Puna Ramate. We have to go to Puna.
Puna Ramate. Right. Antarashtriya, Antarashtriya. So those are the forms where you have a dirgha again. Dasharathi Ramaha, Puna Ramate, Manaha Rathaha. Okay, so mostly people know this.
Manorathaha.
Manorathaha. So you have, there are some cases where there is a Visarga Lopa and no Sandhi. There are also cases where there is Visarga Lopa and there is Sandhi. And there is a Dirgha where there is Visarga Lopa and Dirgha. And there is again an Okara. So this is just a, well, I have not covered all possible changes of the Visarga here. But still we have, I think, 4 slides where you have the different things which are happening to Visarga. At least they seem to be happening to the Visarga, because everywhere in the left hand side you see the Visarga. But the curious part is, in most of these cases the Visarga itself is not involved. If you see in all these 6 cases which we see on screen, sorry, in none of these cases, none of these is a Visarga Sandhi. Atra Visarga Sandhi reva nasti, because there is no Visarga at all. You will not find a Visarga here. Similarly, if you go to this slide, Balas Tatra, Balas Saha, Ramashchinoti, these are actual Visarga Sandhis where there is Visarga and the Visarga is converted to something else. Similarly, this is also Visarga Sandhi where you have a Visarga and it is converted to something else. If you go back, first thing, these are not Visarga Sandhis because the Visarga is not involved here. So it seems to be Vigrahe Visarga Shruyate, Kintu Ime Visarga Sandhayaha na. So the first and last things we saw are not Visarga Sandhis, whereas the second and third slides which we saw are Visarga Sandhis. So what is the difference? Can somebody tell? Where is it a Visarga Sandhi or where is it not? What's the difference between this and that? Hema?
Yeah, wherever you have that sakara, visarjaniyasya saha.
I can't hear you. It's too low.
Visarjaniyasya saha. So visarga becomes sa, so balas saha. So that is
right, but it need not always be visarjaniyasya saha, right? The previous case where you don't have sakara.
Also, you know, upu padmani yanam. No.
Correct. So I want one general condition where there is Visarga Sandhi and where there is no Visarga Sandhi. I mean, there seems to be a Visarga, but it is not technically Visarga Sandhi. Yes, I mentioned this before, that a Visarga appears only if only by one sutra, just kharvasanayoh visarjaniyah. So if there is a khar varna following, or if there is a avasana, which is the end. So we'll see that sutra first. Visarga Sandhi Prakarane. Purvameva Atsandhi Prakarane eva idam sutram adhitam. Kharvasanayoh visarjaniyah. Padadvayam asti. Kharvasanayoh visarjaniyah. Rori ityatah raha iti anuvartate. Raha iti षष्ठी अर्थात रेफस्य स्थाने खरवसानयोः खरि खर्वर्णे परे ख फ छ ठ थ च ट त क प श श स कर्कषव्यञ्जनेषु परेषु अथवा अवसाने विरामोऽवसानं वर्णानाम् अभावः अवसानसंज्ञः स्यात् खरवसानयोः परयोः रेफस्य स्थाने विसर्गः स्यात् इति सूत्रार्थः खरि अवसाने च परे रेफस्य विसर्जनीयः स्यात् राम ऋ इत्यस्ति सुप्रत्ययः रामशब्दात् प्रथमाविभक्तौ एकवचने सुप्रत्ययः तस्य ससजुषोरुः इत्यनेन ऋत्वम् इदानीं राम ऋ इति स्थिते अवसाने अग्रे किमपि नास्ति केवलं राम ऋ इत्येव अस्ति तदा अवसाने रेफस्य विसर्गः स्यात् इत्यनेन विसर्गादेशः रामः अथवा पुनर् तत्र इत्यस्ति रेफः अस्ति खर्वर्णः तकारः खर्वर्णः खर्वर्णे परे रेफस्य विसर्जनीयः स्यात् पुनः तत्र विष्णुर्त्राता विष्णु इति प्रातिपदिकं पुनः सुप्रत्ययः तस्य ऋत्वं विष्णुर्त्राता इति स्थिते तकारः खर्वर्णः खरिपरे रेफस्य विसर्जनीयः स्यात् so the only condition where visarga will appear is if there is an avasana or if there is a kharvarna following. If it is avasana, there is no sandhi happening later. Avasana means the visarga will remain as it is. There could be a chance of further sandhi if visarga is followed by a kharvarna. So Visarga Sandhi is the change that happens to a Visarga when it is followed by a Kharvarna. If it is not a Kharvarna, there is no Visarga. Yatha Ramaha api. Tatra vastutaha Ramopi ityatra Visarga eva na bhavati. There is no Visarga there. It stops at some other stage and it moves on a parallel line. So there are two separate streams. It actually starts with the R or the Rutva. We tend to start with Visarga because we hear the Visarga in the last time, but the actual way to start is R, where you have the Repha. The Repha could be converted to Visarga if it is followed by Khar or Avasana. It could remain as a Repha, or it could be converted to something else when followed by a Swara and Vridu Vyanjana. That is how we have to deal with Visarga Sandhi. I mean, what is commonly known as Visarga Sandhi, but it is not actually Visarga Sandhi. Visarga Sandhi is only one part of it where the Repha has been converted to Visarga by Kharvasanayor Visarjaniyah. Kharvasanayor Visarjaniyah ityanena Visarge krute tasya Visargasya ye vikaraha sambhavanti te eva Visarga Sandhi prakarane uchyante. Rephasya yadyad karyam bhavati tattu Swadi Sandhi prakarane uchyate. That is the difference between Visarga Sandhi and Swadi Sandhi. So idanim, since we are entering Visarga Sandhi prakarana, the first thing to remember is everywhere here there should be a Visarga by Kharvasanayor Visarjaniyah. No other sutra. There was either there was a Repha earlier which was converted to Visarga by Kharvasanayor Visarjaniyah. Visarjane kim kim bhavati iti idanim pashyamah. Visarjaniyasya saha. Idamapi sutram Halsandhi prakarane adhitam. I've studied this in Halsandhis. Padadvayam Visarjaniyasya saha. Kharvasanayor Visarjaniyah ityatah khari iti anuvartate. Khari iti saptami अर्थात खर्वर्णे परे कर्कषव्यञ्जने परे विसर्जनीयस्य इति षष्ठी विभक्तिः विसर्गस्य स्थाने षष्ठी स्थाने योगा सः इति प्रथमा विभक्तिः सकारस्य प्रथमा विभक्तिः सः सकारः भवति विसर्गस्य स्थाने खरि परे सकारादेशो भवति इति सूत्रार्थः खरि विसर्जनीयस्य सः स्यात् किमुदाहरणं विष्णुः त्राता पूर्वत्र दृष्टं विष्णुर् त्राता इति स्थिते खर्वसानयोर् विसर्जनीयः इत्यनेन विसर्गे कृते विष्णुः त्राता अत्र विष्णुः इति विसर्गः अग्रे खर् वर्णः अस्ति तकारः खरि परे विसर्गस्य सः इत्यनेन विष्णुस्त्राता. Okay, So this is sakara, a general sutra where wherever you have visarga, it is supposed to be converted to sakara. Since we have seen from the earlier sutra that wherever there is khar, you get visarga, and this sutra tells wherever there is a khar, the visarga is converted to sakara. This is the general sutra. If there is no exception, the visarga is converted to sakara compulsorily. Kintu etad apavadattvena bahuni sutrani santi. Sharpare visarjaniyah. Sutre padadvayam asti. खरवसानयोर् विसर्जनीयः इत्यतः खरि इति अनुवर्तते विसर्जनीयस्य सः इत्यतः विसर्जनीयस्य इत्यपि अनुवर्तते कः अर्थः शर्परे खरि इति उभयमपि सप्तमी शर् वर्णपरके खर् वर्णे परे. So this is still the same. When visarga is followed by a khar, which in turn is followed by a shar varna, sharpare khari visarjaniyasya sthane visarjaniyah visarga eva bhavati nanyat. So the visarga is replaced by a visarga to prevent it being converted to anything else. Right? So sharpare khari visarjaniyasya visarjaniyah natu anyat. This is an exception to everything else which you see. If the khar is followed by a shar varna, then the visarga will not be changed at any case. Kaha tsaruhu ityasti. Tsaruhu nama khadgamushtihi. Atra kaha ts. Takaraha khar varnaha. Tat paratvena asti sakaraha shar varnaha. Sharpare khari visargasya sthane visarga eva bhavati. Kaha tsaruhu ityeva rupam. एवमेव घनाघनः क्षोभणः ककारः अस्ति ककारः खर्वर्णः तस्य अग्रे षकारः मूर्धन्यषकारः अस्ति सः शर्वर्णः शर्परे खरि विसर्जनीयस्य विसर्जनीय एव स्यात् घनाघनः क्षोभणः. This is why wherever you have ksha, the previous visarga has to be pronounced in full, whether it is Vishnu Sahasranama Kshamaha Kshamas Samiranaha, or even in the Vedas you find Ravi says Namaha Kshatribhyaha ityasti chet Namah Kshatribhyaha iti jihvamuliyah na bhavati. Wherever there is ksha, the visarga has to be pronounced completely. Iha yathayatham sattvam jihvamuliyascha na kaha tsaruhu. In case of kahat saruhu, visarjaniyasya saha ityanena visarjaniyasya sthane sakaraha prapnoti घनाघनः क्षोभणः इत्यत्र kakare pare kupoh kahpocha iti jihvamuliyah prapnoti. So, but as I told, sharpare visarjaniyah is an exception to everything. It's an exception to visarjaniyasya saha, to kupoh kahpocha, everything. It overrules everything, and the visarga remains as visarga. Sharpare visarjaniyah. Tataha va shari. Padadvayam. Visarjaniyasya saha ityataha visarjaniyasya iti anuvartate. Sharpare visarjaniyah ityataha visarjaniyah iti anuvartate. Ekam shashthyantam aparam prathamantam. Shari iti saptami bhaktihi. Shar varne pare. Sha sha sa ityeteshu pareshu visarjaniyasya. अर्थात विसर्गस्य स्थाने विसर्जनीयः प्रथमा विभक्तिः विसर्गः विसर्गस्य स्थाने विसर्ग एव भवति विकल्पेन. So the previous sutra told the visarga is replaced by a visarga. This is also mandating a visarga in place of a visarga optionally. Shari pare visarjaniyasya visarjaniya eva syat va. यथा हरिः शेते इत्यस्ति अत्र वाशरि इत्यनेन विसर्गादेशे हरिः शेते इत्येव रूपं तदभावे. Since this is an optional sutra, you also have visarjaniyasya saha applying to get sakara, which in turn is converted to shakara by stoshchunashchuhu. Harishete harihi shete iti rupadvayam. Right? So in the previous slide Ravichandranji had a question. What is yathayatham? Iha yathayatham jihvatvam jihvamuli yashcha na. Yathayatham means respectively. So in kahatsaruhu there is no sattva, and in ghana ghanaha kshobhanaha there is no jihvamuliya. It means respectively there is no satkara and jihvamuliya in the given examples respectively. Vashari vikalpena what's happening? Sorry. Shari sh ityeteshu pareshu vikalpena visargasya sthane visargah. So now if the visarga is followed by sa, there are two forms, one with a visarga and one with a sakara. If it is ka or pa, we have already seen that there is jihvamuliya or upadmaniya. If it is the other karkasha vyanjanas, cha, cha, ta, tha or ta, tha, we have compulsory sakara. And if that khar varna happens to be followed by a shar varna, there is compulsory visarga only. Now, kharpare shari va visarga lopo vaktavyaha. Shari visargasya visarga eva iti drishtam. Kharpare shari. If that shar varna is followed by a khar varna, then what happens? The visarga is deleted optionally. Ramaha sthata ityasti. Sakaraha Ramaha visargaha. Sakaraha sharvarnaha. Tadagre thakaraha kharvarnaha. Kharpare shari. Visarga lopaha. Optionally the visarga is deleted. So it becomes Rama sthata. Anena vartikena. Idam vartikam. Kharpare shari va visarga lopo vaktavyaha ityanena visargasya lope Rama sthata. Tadabhave va shari ityanena visargasya sthane visarga eva bhavati Ramaha sthata. Tatsyapi abhave visarjaniyasya saha ityanena sakare Rama sthata. So there are three forms. One where the visarga is deleted, one where the visarga remains as visarga, and the third where it is converted to sakara. Similarly, harihi spurati. Sakaraha sharvarnaha, thakaraha kharvarnaha. Kharpare shari. Va visarga lopaha. Hari spurati. Va shari ityanena visargasya sthane visarge harihi spurati. Visarjaniyasya sattve हरिस्फुरति पक्षे विसर्गे सत्वे च त्रैरूप्यम् अस्य वार्तिकस्य वार्तिकपक्षे वार्तिकप्रवृत्तिपक्षे लोपः तदभावपक्षे विसर्गे एकं रूपं विसर्गस्याप्यभावे सत्वे अपरं रूपं. So there are three forms when a visarga is followed by shar, which in turn is followed by khar. So this vartika is actually the only instance where the visarga gets deleted directly. In all other cases where we seem to see visarga lopa is actually not the lopa of a visarga. This is the only case where the visarga is directly deleted. Visarga lopaha nama esha eva. Okay. So I think we'll stop here, and in the next class we'll see kupoh kahpocha again and what are the apavadas to kupoh kahpocha. We saw today are visarjaniyasya saha tasya apavadaha. Tataha kupoh kahpocha ityanena kavarge pavarge cha pare visargasya sthane jihvamuliyaha upadmaniyascha bhavati. Kintu tasyapi apavadaha santi. Yatha yashaskamaha namaskaroti ityadishu payaspasham ityadishu jihvamuliyaha upadmaniyascha na bhavati. Tada kim bhavati iti agrimakakshayam pashyamah. Any doubts so far?
Samyaji, one unrelated question.
Yes.
In Vishnuhu Trata, the word Trata, is it like Dhata, Trujanta?
Yes. Trayate. He who protects is Trata.
Okay.
Okay. Vasji?
Hello.
Tell me.
Yeah. The example saha eshaha. Saisha.
Huh.
There is Prayoga only in Ramayana kind of this one, or I seem to have seen it in
Not
the,
only the Ramayana, but in the Kavya, that is in Padya Kavya. Because that
Panchakavya
particular rule says Pada Purane, when the Pada has to be filled. If you have Sa Eshaha separately, the Pada will not be filled. So that is a special rule which says.
I have seen one prayer, this one, Saisha Devi Sagala Bhuna Prarthana Kamadenu.
But that is Sa Esha, where there is no Visarga, so you can easily do the Vriddhi Sandhi. The problem comes in Saha Eshaha because there is Lopa Shakalyasya, and since it is Asiddha, we cannot do any Swara Sandhi after that. So it's only in Pullinga. If it is Trilinga, it is Sa and Esha, where it is Vriddhi Rechi, normal ones.
Oh, okay. So here, what rule is it just Sadhu Prayoga, or it is?
No. There is a rule which says Sochi Lope Chet Pada Puranam. So the Supratyaya itself gets Lopa if the Pada will be filled only in that case. So it is one which makes which enables the Chandas.
Okay. So that is neither covered in the Vartika nor in the Sutra, but it is covered.
No, it is a Sutra. It is a Sutra. Panini Sutra, which we'll see later. Yeah.
Okay.
Shadagopanji.
We are talking about Vartikas. Now,
Yes.
in the Sutra Patha, there are some Vartikas, but they are very few in number. But now I find in the Siddhanta Kaumudi, the Vartika numbers itself running into some 5,000 and things like that. So, what are these?
Correct, because the Vartikakara has written.
Is it taken from the vritti of Mahabhashyam or something like that?
No, the Vartikas itself, the Katyayana's Vartikas, they are like a commentary for the Ashtadhyayi. So for every sutra, the Vartikakara gives many Vartikas, giving exceptions, and sometimes he himself answers those objections. And sometimes the Bhashyakara answers the objections and takes off the Vartika. So finally the Vartikas which are accepted by the Bhashyakara are very few. But the Vartikas themselves are thousands in number, because that is what Vartikakara told. It is everything that Vartikakara told is called a Vartika. But the accepted Vartikas are few in number, because Bhashyakara generally manages to prove that whatever the Vartikakara said has already been thought of by Panini, and he proves that in a different way. But there are some cases where the Vartikas are required because we cannot get that from the Sutra. So the number of accepted Vartikas is very low compared to the actual number of Vartikas. So the Vartika numbers which you have in the Kaumudi are the actual Vartika number in the Bhashya, as in on which the Bhashyakara has written his commentary. And the traditional Sutra Patha also does not list all the accepted Vartikas, I think. I mean, the book which I have of Ashtadhyayi, which gives Vartikas, but it does not give all the Vartikas at all. The Dikshitar, in the Kaumudi there are many more Vartikas than in my Sutra Patha. We don't know what is the actually criterion where they have selected the Vartikas. Let's have to look into. Okay. There's one more question by Priya where he says, in Sa Eshaha, can we also have Sayeshaha where there is a Yakara? Yeah, we can have, because Lopa Shakalyasya is optional, but the more commonly used form is Sa Eshaha with the Lopa and not with the Yakara. Both are correct, of course. Okay, any more questions? येनाक्षरसमां नायमधिगम्य महेश्वरात् कृत्स्नं व्याकरणं प्रोक्तं तस्मै पाणिनये नमः। मुनित्रयं नमस्कृत्य तदुक्तिः परिभाव्य च वैयाकरणसिद्धान्तकौमुदीयं विरच्यते।